viewing life symbolically. Something I've been pondering, especially in the past few days, but for years because it's been my life. And something I wanted to share that I felt called to share today is talking about my life and certain symbolic behaviors that I have noticed as a pattern in my life, so that you might look at your own life and try to witness, like, what patterns are alive in my life that are symbolic, that are trying to speak of the kind of life that I'm living, that you are living. And the primary symbol here, the primary metaphor, is that I've been building pathways. More specifically, I have been traveling from Maine to California, from farm to farm, and every single time, just about, there is some path, some trail, some walkway that needs to either be built, it needs to be beautified, it needs my hands, my loving, reverential hands to either build it, beautify it, or make it more accessible. Make it a pathway that someone would want to walk. This happened in Missouri, where I was weed whacking the trails. There's this trail in the forest, and I was beautifying it for a retreat so that they would be able to walk the pathway without being surrounded by weeds. When I was in New Mexico, the very first task that I was given was to clear the weeds from the meditation walkway, so that people can meditate more serenely without little weeds pestering them. In Ashland, Oregon, the theme was building paths, building walkways. In a Tree of Life garden, which that project got set aside, but it did a little bit. And then building a stairway between a medicinal herb garden space and a bit of land that soon enough, one day, with the help of beavers and beaver dams, will be restored to its natural condition. For right now, it is in a state of decomposition. A lot of wounds on that part of the land. And so my role in that space was to build a pathway, specifically a stairway, for the medicinal herb garden to have a path to reach this decomposing land so that it may be restored into a wildlife sanctuary. That's the end goal for beavers. Beavers being the divine feminine essence. And this stairway, this pathway, was being built as a harmonious piece of a conglomerate between magnificent hot springs and a goddess temple. A pathway for the medicinal herbs to allow the goddess to flow more freely and transmute decompositions of her adjacent lands into recompositions of the goddess within, without, that she may bloom and prosper. And here I find myself at Joywoods Farm, building yet another pathway. This time, just a pathway from one of the homes to the community area. So perhaps a pathway from individual living space to more communal living. That pathway might be walked more beautifully, agreeably, seamlessly, without getting mud all over our feet and mud all over the community spaces. So I hope you're getting what I'm saying here, is that every time you can sit and ponder about the depth and the meaning of the actions that you're doing, whether that's in your work, whether that's on a walk, whether that's in your home life. Everything is always symbolically charged. And everything is always telling you something about the phase of your life that you are in. So if for the past year I've been building pathways, I might ask myself, what am I building pathways to? Why is there, within the grand orchestrations of divine being, why is there always a call for my hands and my heart and my body to be the ones building the path? A reminder that I am in charge of walking my own path. For a long time, I've allowed the path to build itself for me in this doldrum, passive surrender, not even to the divine, but more to my own unintegrated shadows, and kind of letting my shadows guide me, like, oh, I'll just wander. It's not entirely true, but floating. And not decisively knowing what I want, where I want to go, where I want to build my pathway to. And so this past year of building all these pathways has been a year of building the pathway of my life and of discovering the direction in which I wish to build it. And so now that I have this knowledge, I can ask myself more deeply, where am I building this path to? And I'm really at a phase in my life where I've been building this pathway for a long time, and then so many possibilities are open before me. I'm like, okay, wow. It truly is in my hands. And there's a whole world, an entire earth, asking me, Where are you going? So that's one example among many. And as I continue building the pathway of this YouTube channel, I'll probably share more instances of such symbols entering my life through my will. But for now, this is the one that I've shared. And my intention and my hope is that you might notice which pathways you're building in your own life. Which pathways are you choosing to build? Or are you being called to build? Even if you are in a mundane 9-to-5 job, what is the job? What are you building with it? What does that symbolize about your life? I'll say another thing. When I was in Maine, before building all these pathways, I was a door-to-door salesman. And my manager, quote unquote, I didn't let him manage me. I was like, no, I'm gonna do it my way. His ID card said Enrollment Agent Smith. What does that say about him? Agent Smith from the Matrix. And this man, as the antithesis of me, did not believe in free will. He was an atheist, and he strictly believed that there was no free will, no such thing. And I was the absolute antithesis of that. I'm like, no, God is the only thing that exists, and free will is the only thing that exists. And here I was, believing in free will, and then receiving a script that I memorize and repeat over and over and over and over again at doors. What is that? That is the antithesis of free will. That is running a script, running a program, running something that is counter to my essence and to my code and to my freedom. Specifically, working for a man named Agent Smith. Like, you can't make this stuff up. And God is running all of these scripts so that we can see them and then wake up to them. So what scripts are you running? What pathways are you building? What lives are you living? And what stories are you telling? Whether that's your 9-to-5, whether that's walking on the street, what are the things that are continuously emerging as patterns in your life? By now you should know. And if you don't, if it hasn't like come alive just from watching this far in the video, like it should be just like, oh yeah, obviously. But if not, that's okay. Just maybe like look back on the past however long of your life, a year, 2 years, a few years, a few months. And witness the signs and the patterns. What keeps emerging? What are you always doing? And it's not like you even need to change anything in this moment unless you truly feel called to. Just notice. And try to figure out, what does it mean? What is the universe trying to tell you through your own wills and behaviors about your life and about the direction of your life? That's it. Learn to decode your life symbolically, because then you learn to decode the language of God, which is present in all creation. As I'm building these pathways here today, what I'm seeing in the sky is dozens of hawks. Hawks in upward circular flight. And I'm building a pathway to that flight with it. So, what pathway are you going?